And I'll call
Want to go live?
Yep.
He just got back to me. He's going to be a few minutes. He says, be right there.
We're live.
All right, well, it is 1:05. It's Adrienne Thompson, Planning and Building Services, the Administrative Services Manager. As the designee for the Business Improvement District, I will call the meeting to order. Note that John Dixon is running a little late but should be joining us shortly. We'll cover some ground rules for the meeting. Since we are in Zoom, we have provided telecomment to the public. At this time, no public has sent us an indication they desire to speak or any further comment. And we'll be continuing with Zoom, my best guess, this fiscal year, which rolls till July. So just to kind of give you guys a heads up, my guess is this entire fiscal year for the county will go by Zoom. So we'll continue to do these meetings in our fashion here. Hopefully you have your bylaws and your agenda that was sent out. And I'm hoping John can move it in quickly. We'll do some other intros before, because you have some new faces here while we wait for John Dixon. You guys know Jim, he was here last bid meeting season, but we now have Angie also, who you probably can't see because she's not speaking.
Hello.
See if the L moves.
Hi.
Hey, Jim and Angie, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And also it seems that I typically get pulled to special assignments, and so you see me half of the time, which is also true this fiscal year. I've been recruited for COVID vaccine planning. So as special assignments, I'm here probably 2 days a week, and then working on that a lot of the other times. So I'll be here until 2, and then I'll be leaving for a vaccine workshop. At that point, you will have a chair, and you don't really need me here, but if you have questions, Jim and Angie are more than capable of handling questions. Our next step is to take a vote on your chair. At this time, the only people present would be John or Marcus that would be able to vote or be nominated for chair, I should say. You have to serve one term. So if you want
Adrienne, wait, before we conduct any official business, I had a question for you and staff.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I just want to make sure that before we conduct any official business, that any new and or current members of this board are in good standing and have gone through the proper application process and appointment process, so that way we can have a quorum to conduct official business in accordance to the Bid Advisory Board bylaws.
Yes, Cindy Wagner was appointed by the board in November to the business improvement districts, and I believe Travis can attest to her standing.
Yes, in good standing.
Wonderful.
Right.
Great, I just wanted to make sure we had that on record.
And welcome, Cindy, since we didn't officially say welcome yet.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, welcome, Cindy.
Marcus, how do you feel about resuming your role as chair?
I am 100% open to the idea. If anyone wants to step up and take over as chair, I'm happy to step aside. But if that's not the case, I'm happy to chair another year.
Great. Well, as yeah, and as evidenced by your lead-off question, it's obvious that you are well qualified and ready to rock in that position. So I'd love to nominate Marcus Magdaleno as chair.
All right, do we have a second?
Can we have a second? Who would second? Would Cindy second?
You can
I
still
can
vote.
second.
Mm-hmm.
I second it.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Marcus, are you willing to accept your nomination?
Yes, I am.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All righty, moving on.
Thanks, Marcus.
Now we need a vice chair of the Business Improvement District Advisory Board.
Our previous vice chair was it John Dixon?
Yes.
I believe it was John Dixon.
Being that he still hasn't chimed in yet, I'd make a recommendation that the vice chair be John Glidewell.
I
Do we have a
appreciate
second?
the recommendation. Is it possible to have John Dixon remain in that role even if he hasn't joined us by the time we go through the election process here?
We've typically allowed it as long as we know that the board member is willing to it. As he was vice chair last term, I anticipate he would accept.
Okay, and Marcus, I appreciate that. In full disclosure, I have sort of a heavy calendar starting on the first of the year. Travis Scott knows I'm going to be going back to school, and so I would hate to miss out on some vice chair responsibilities for you, and would hope that maybe John Dixon could continue that role this year.
Certainly, I'm happy to change my nomination to John Dixon. He's having trouble joining the meeting, by the way. He can't seem to find the link.
Let me re-email him the link.
Thanks, Travis.
Sure.
And Adrian, I'll second the nomination
For Dixon, thank
for
you.
John Dixon. Yep.
All those in favor before he joins.
Marcus Negleto, aye.
John Glidewell, aye.
Perfect.
Cindy
When
Wagner,
he
aye.
joins, we can ask him if he is
Tell him
okay.
it's too late. You've been appointed vice chair.
Yeah.
I'm sure he won't mind.
Uh-huh.
Adrian, I do have a few comments I want to make as chair. When's the best place to do that? In agenda item 5 or 6 or now?
You can go ahead and, well, technically you would be 8 matters from the board, but if you wanted to make a quick comment as chair, we don't have anything filed on our side nor matters from the public, so you have time before your regular calendar.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. I just want to quickly remind everybody that's on right now is that that this meeting is being streamed live on Mendocino County's YouTube channel and being recorded, I presume, for any viewers to watch in the future. Yeah.
It'll be on YouTube, yes.
Yeah. So just wanted to remind everybody about that. And I just wanted to make some brief comments for any members of the public that might watch it later, or even our new board member. Just quick summary to help clarify the purpose and task of this board. So this is the first meeting of the Bid Advisory Board to start developing the Business Improvement District Annual Report for the upcoming fiscal year 2021-2022. And this report, it consists of history and achievements and budgets and financials, future goals, recommendations, and guidelines that our DMO, our Destination Marketing Organization, known as Visit Mendocino County, also known as VMC, that it adheres to. And it also lists recommendations actionable by the related boards, which would be our board, the Bid Advisory Board, Mendocino County Tourism Commission Board, and as well as our county's Board of Supervisors. And then once finalized, once this report is finalized by this board, it goes before the Board of Supervisors for approval. And once approved, it sets the standards and parameters at which these organizations must adhere to. So essentially, this report and this board act as one of many checks and balances to ensure that our DMO functions well and along industry standards and keeps to its commitments and its purpose. And furthermore, it also ensures that the bid funds that are collected are used properly, equitably, and most effectively to market this county as a tourism destination. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick summary so it's on record for anybody that didn't quite have a full understanding of the purpose and goals of this board. And if any other board members have anything they'd like to add, feel free. Hearing none. It looks like John Dixon's on the line now. I suppose.
Yes, hello everybody. Sorry I was late.
Hi, John. Just to get you up to speed, we are in we have just completed agenda item number 4. So we've done an election of the chair. I've been elected for this current year as chair, and you have been elected as vice chair. Are you all right with that?
What? Just kidding. Sure.
All right.
That's what I get. That's what I get.
That's right.
How
Okay,
it goes.
great.
I know. No, that sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So moving on to communications received and filed, as Adrian said that we don't have any. Adrian, I just for clarification, an example of something we might get in this agenda item, like maybe a word from the Board of Supervisors. Is that where this would fall in? What kind of examples would we get for communications received and files agenda item?
It could be something like that. It could also be a comment from a lodging owner or someone outside the county or a campground, or just even someone commenting. Matters from the public would be more someone wishing to speak. So even if there was correspondence that said, I just wanted to put this on the record, we could put that there. If someone said, I actually would like to speak to the board about X, Y, or Z, then they would go to matters from the public, and we'd have a telecomment form. Just like a board meeting, we'd pull them in to speak to you, and they would get their 3 minutes, and then we would move on.
Wonderful. Great. That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure it's clear.
Sure.
All right. So moving on to matters of the public. Having no members of the public present, I believe we should move on to agenda item number 7, our regular calendar, 7A, distribution of bylaws.
Those were posted online and sent out to the board with the agenda posting, as well as 7B, the prior year fiscal report was posted online and sent out also. If anyone needs a copy sent to them, let me know. We can email it to you directly.
And there have been no changes to the bylaws from the previous year. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And 7B, distribution of prior year annual report.
Also with your agenda link, if you need a copy sent to you directly, just let us know.
All right, 7C, discussion and possible action to establish the advisory board's meeting calendar for the fiscal year.
Oh, that didn't get updated.
So it should be for fiscal year 21-22?
Correct.
So I guess this is where we discuss when we want to set our regular meeting, or is that specified in the bylaws?
You don't have specified meeting dates, you have a specified meeting time. So you meet from 1 to 3:30 on any given day, whatever that may be. The only thing to consider now is because we are Zoom and we stream, you have to be on a day and time that we don't have a standing meeting. So that leaves Tuesdays and Thursdays are very difficult to meet. The second Wednesday of the month, we have a standing meeting, but other than that, we can do Mondays or most Wednesdays.
Any board members have any input on, I suppose we should shoot for either a Monday or Wednesday?
I would like to shoot for Wednesday. Mondays just typically seem to be tough for me. Today, great. We were able to jump in and start our first meeting of the new fiscal year. But yeah, for future meetings, I'd really like to see us not do Mondays.
Thank you, John Gladwell.
Wednesdays work really well for me. Wednesdays are good.
Thank you, Cindy. John Dixon?
Both are equally difficult, so it doesn't matter. The Wednesday's fine.
All right, and Wednesday works fine for me as well. Adrian, again, which Wednesday of the month is a conflict?
Would be better to pick like the first or third Wednesday. You want to stay away from the second week of the month. We have a standing meeting. So if you wanted to meet twice a month, we could go first and third Wednesdays. If you only wanted to meet once a month, we could do either the first or third. You could pick.
All right, let's see here. So if we
That's a good question.
Go ahead, John Dixon.
I just know that from previous years that we have a deadline, and maybe we should work backwards from that we could have weekly meetings or once a month or, twice a month meetings. And I think we're already a little bit behind. Maybe you lost a week or two, I don't know, based on bylaws and things to set up this first meeting. So with that in mind, maybe we need to work backwards from when we have a deliverable and then decide how often, and then that will help us decide when.
Excellent suggestion, John Dixon. So Adrian, can you help us, or Travis, recall the dates that
We need
deadline
to
dates?
we need to be complete to be within the 90 days by the end of March.
By end of March.
Yes. We had.
And we've-
Go ahead, Adrian.
I was gonna say, I think we've gone into the first couple weeks of April because I know that we've had difficulty, and I expect this year to be extremely difficult. I've already got board meetings pushed to March, where I can't get on a calendar with the board. I'm scheduled 3 months out, so I anticipate it being very difficult to get on a board agenda at this time as it is. So we'd probably be safe, going over our deadline slightly and meeting into April if we need to try and get on one of the last meetings in April with the board.
So does that mean we need to get on their agenda now?
I will have
Like
to
we need-
email and try and get the first and second meetings for bid now and hope that I can get them in April or May.
And that would, if worst case scenario, it happens in early May, does that give enough time for approval prior to the start of the new fiscal year?
Yes.
It does, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right,
I
Did
will-
you say?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, question for Adrian. Then you said we need to be on 2 different agendas.
Correct. Bid always has a first reading where you present an intent to levy your future collections with your annual report. And then your second meeting is to formally adopt the levying of the assessment, hear any objections on a noticed public hearing, and then finally approve the report. And then it's 30 days typically until the fiscal year. So as long as I have that last piece done in early June or end of May, then we're clear for the assessments by July 1.
And then how much time in between the meetings then? What's the notice time?
It has to be at least 2 weeks because I need to publish that in the journal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So for fiscal year. So if we were on like the second week and then the 4th week of April,
To submit to the board?
yeah, to be on the agenda for the board and then work backwards from that? Or should we try to, you said the end of April at one point for the first meeting and maybe into May, 2 weeks later for the second meeting?
That would be fine. I can stagger April and May for a meeting. I've even squeezed them both into May before when we had to, and that was fine. So I think as long as the work is done and approved by the board, this bid board in early April, I know last year we had a meeting for like April 7th, that week would give me enough time to do an upload for the Board of Supervisors. So
Okay.
then it just a question to you is how many meetings will it take? And maybe Travis kind of has an idea. I want to say we did 5 or 6 meetings last year.
We did 6, I believe, last year. The year
Okay.
prior, we did 4.
So if we went first and third Wednesdays starting in January, that would give us 6 through March, and we could potentially be done by the first week of April if we had to stagger a 7th meeting.
And I like that because it gives us buffer too if we have to miss one, or if we
Correct.
do miss one, or there's not enough work and we end up finish early, I suppose. Okay. Thank you.
So is this something we have to vote on, or we just advise staff to schedule first and third Wednesdays starting January?
You can advise staff, we'll schedule first and third Wednesdays starting January, and we'll send you out the invites and possibly a brief calendar.
All
So
right.
it looks like your first 2 meetings will be 1/6 and 1/20.
All right, wonderful. Any further discussion regarding that? Hearing none.
I have a question. It's more of a
Go ahead.
procedural thing, but is the Zoom the same link time, or will that be sent out for each meeting?
We'll send you one new link after this that will have all the meeting dates in it.
Okay, great. It was my challenge today was that it went to spam, and I thought it was coming from you, and so I just want to make sure that wherever it comes from, that it's I make it a safe sender kind of a thing, or I don't know if anybody else had the same problem, but anyway, that's just a procedural thing. I have nothing else, Marcus.
Okay. On to agenda item 7D, discussion and direction concerning the preparation of the annual report for 21-22. So I guess this is where we discuss how we want to tackle this. I believe in the past we've had staff at VMC prepare the portions that cover the history, statistics, goals, and achievements, and this board reviewed it and adjusted it in any way they saw fit, and then worked continually on creating the recommendations and future goals. Is that kind of the same structure we want to continue with? Travis, are you staffed well enough to be able to tackle that? Because I know this year is, everybody knows this year is not.
No, that's the way I have planned to do it based on history, and I'll make it work. I've already started my portion, and we'll have that distributed with the next agenda for you guys to go over at the next meeting.
Great. All right. So we'll have somewhat of a draft to look over in the next meeting. I'd advise all the board members to look over the previous year's report and get familiar with it. So it'll be easier to go through the draft for the future year, and also to review the recommendations, and we can discuss what recommendations were adopted, any that were achieved, any that got missed and need to be resubmitted, and so forth. So any questions from any members of the board regarding the direction concerning the preparation of the report?
I don't have any questions. I think that sounds like a good direction. I have a comment though. I think it'll be obvious that we'll be working with a pretty reduced budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Is that true, Travis?
Yes, we will be working under a reduced budget. What I am happy to report is that financials for MCTC are incredibly strong going into the next fiscal year because of the quick changes that the board approved at the beginning of this pandemic. So yes, but we will be working under a reduced budget and probably still not looking at bringing staff back yet.
Okay. Well, thank you for that info. And I think as a reader of this report, I would be very interested to know how this board sort of plans around those challenges. First, maybe identifying what those challenges are and what the MCTC board anticipated when things started shutting down and what changes were made. It would be nice to see a summary included in the report that kind of highlights how MCTC responded, and then how the bid advisory board took into account those, the response items for us to make our decisions for this new fiscal year. Does that seem like a sort of like almost like a forward we can include in this next report?
Go ahead, Travis.
Sure. From my end, that's something that's totally doable. I did just want to let everybody know, since we didn't have any meetings following the submission of the report last year, that there was a budget adjustment made, and that was passed on to the Board of Supervisors and submitted to them, or submitted to the county, rather. So I do want you guys to know that was finished up our work from last year's report based on the pandemic. So
Thank you, Travis. And yes, I on Glidewell, I think it's an excellent recommendation that there be a section devoted to this report addressing the pandemic and the responses and the actions taken to move through it. And I also am hopeful that as we develop this report, we can operate under the assumption, hopefully, that by the start of the next fiscal year, the pandemic will be beginning its end or coming close to its ending, hopefully. So hopefully we'll have a strong fiscal year starting next July.
Okay, yeah, great. And so Travis, would you have I mean, would you have a handle on where to start for that, or do you need information from us on direction, or what do you think?
Well, I can certainly speak to and write about the operational and organizational changes that were made on the MCTC end. That's no problem.
Okay, great. And like you said, Marcus, I think it's a good idea for the members of this board to refresh themselves with the report, the bylaws, and once we have, I'm sure that will spark some questions that we'll have moving forward, and we compare those with a review of Travis's submission. And I don't know what a timeline looks for that submission, Travis. I imagine we'll want to respond to that as we build our report for this new year, but is it something where you feel like we can have it ready, even if it's a one-pager for the January meeting, or do you want to not put a timeline on it yet?
No, I think I could probably have a draft of a one sheet done. Sure, that shouldn't be a problem.
Or maybe even just real rough bullet points so that we can, as a board, keep them in mind while we're reading and reviewing the previous annual report. I have a feeling that the substantial content that we'll really be focusing on are going to have a lot to do with how things have transitioned over this last year. And maybe I'm wrong. And it sounds like Travis, you're optimistic that because of how well the MCTC board anticipated the changes happening, maybe it's not going to be as hugely affected. And so that would be great. In my head, without sort of reviewing the facts, I wonder if there's a larger challenge for this board to try and make recommendations that are, very sensitive to this whole year that we're emerging from. As Marcus said, hopefully it's ending and we can start getting back in the next fiscal year. But I just want to make sure that we're doing our diligence on our side.
Yes, well said, John Gladwell. It's important that we keep records and document all that's happened. Yes, Travis, work on as much as you can, whenever you can, and we'll plan on reviewing it in all of our meetings. And if we can work efficiently and diligently, maybe we can, have it ready sooner than we expected. And I do want to make sure, though, I think we did last year, but I want to make sure that we set time for a somewhat finalized report from us to be reviewed by the MCTC board for their input as well. So that way we can take their input and into consideration during a meeting. And we did that. Did we do that last year? I mean, I know they had a chance to review it, but did they have a chance to review it in a time where we could take their input and make changes if necessary?
They reviewed last year with no response.
Oh, okay, great.
So they were completely comfortable with the recommendations for both the organization and to the county.
Great. All right. Sounds good.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Travis.
Adrian, to
Yes.
have a draft distributed for the next meeting, which would be January 6th, what date do I need to have the draft to you so that it is in everybody else's hands and noticed properly?
Can you get it in by like December 28th?
No pressure at all.
No pressure. 28, 29, somewhere in there.
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay.
And Travis, please feel free. I know your workload must be pretty large, so feel free to reach out to any of us as board members if you need assistance with anything. Okay.
Thank you.
And yeah. All right. Any other discussion concerning direction of the preparation of this report?
Just a process thing again. I know in the years past, the format of the document itself was in some program where it was difficult to share and to sort of track changes. And I think we overcame that last year, and I'd just like to recommend that we do it the same this year, where whether it's Google Docs or Word or some other kind of thing where we can see track changes as we're sharing documents and there's version control of them. Not necessarily yours, Travis, that you're working on. But as we get into like the recommendations and things like that, I think it's easier to work when we see who commented where. And I know that technology is, and we've been using it sort of as lodging and other things, that it's probably going to be easy this year. I just want to make sure that as we're building this, it's in a format from the beginning that we can do that with track changes and formatting and whatnot,
So,
and content. But then if it needs to be put back into InDesign or whatever it might be in to make it pretty, that we're able to sort of work with a shared document, it would be my only request.
So we do report writing a lot different than has been done by past VMC staff. We do everything in Microsoft, and it doesn't go into the design format until it is ready to be approved and in a pretty format.
Okay, thanks.
I guess one more little procedural question too. I'm looking at the previous year report, and I always have trouble remembering the terms and what year each board member started. And I'm wondering, I know at the beginning of our report we list all the members. I'm wondering if we can also list the start of their term, so we can refer to it, because I presume because it's a 2-year term that myself, John Dixon, and John Glidewell were all reappointed.
John Dixon was just reappointed this last year.
What,
I believe both you and John Glidewell are coming up for, this will be your last term.
Mm-hmm.
However you want to say it. I'd have to look at the county website.
I believe you're right, Travis, but it is on the county website. I think Marcus and John Glidewell need to apply in October to stay on, but John Dixon just did, so he's good for 2 years, as well as Cindy.
he just did.
He was just reappointed.
Okay. Yeah, where is that on the website? I'm on the Business Improvement District Advisory Board page.
It's not on planning a building. You have to be on the Board of Supervisors page under their boards and commissions.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. I'll look into that and check it out. Yeah. And then moving on then to item number 8, matters from the advisory board. I guess the only matter is that we have 1 vacant seat. Do we have any potential individuals to pursue joining this board to fill the vacant seat? Anybody?
Well, I did have one potential person who chose very last minute to not not apply due to her own time and things that she needed to do. So I tried really hard this year to get all 5 seats filled.
And I'd like to point out, it's not just your responsibility. We can all make efforts to search out people to potentially join. I remember speaking with, is it Ian, who's been very active on the weekly MCLA list meetings. Ian, is it the Seagulf?
Yeah, he's the Seagull. And I do have another suggestion as well. I'm sure you all heard we did get Point Arena finally back into the bid a couple of weeks ago. So I think once we have that all dialed in, that it might be nice to reach out and ask Laura Cover from the Wildflower Boutique Motel if she would like to join as a Point Arena representative.
Great. All right, Travis, if you're willing to do that, I'll reach out to Ian, as I spoke with him previously, as to whether he'd be interested, and he did express some interest. So I'll reach out to him. If you reach out to, I'm sorry, her name again was Laura?
Laura Cover.
Yeah. Great. All right. Any other matters from the advisory board?
Question on membership. Do we have regions to consider and size of property, things like that, like the MCTC board? I don't recall. I just don't remember.
We do, and let me look here and see which, actually, that's a great idea to pay attention to.
Yes.
Cindy took the at-large position, so we have to have an inland representative.
Inland.
I had such a hard time finding.
So it's got to be 2 inland, 2 coastal, 1 at large.
Correct.
Correct.
Is it too late to ask Cindy to be an inland? Is Anderson Valley? Oh no, I'm sorry, Cindy, you're up on Navarre Ridge Road. That's right.
Yeah,
Okay, never.
I'm coastal. We do have Laurie that's been very active with Rivers Bend, and she's inland. That might be a possibility.
That's who I invited to join, and she declined.
Okay, that was a good choice, Travis.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. And our 2, I thought our 2 inlands was John Glidewell and I.
John Glidewell's coast.
Yeah,
Coast,
Glidewell's
okay.
Coast.
Sorry about that. All right, so our seat to fill is an inland seat.
Inland seat, yes. So
Okay. So neither of the 2 that we just mentioned would.
would work.
Oh, okay.
I know. Thank you, John Dixon, for splattering dreams there.
Well,
Keeping it real here. Keeping it real. Just kidding. Sorry to squash that one, but well, we'll find somebody. And we can do our work without the 5th, but it would be really good, obviously, to keep looking. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, John Glidewell.
As far as the inland seat, I think, was this board discussing Hopland coming online with a new lodging property? And is that maybe a market we can tap into for someone who may have some interest in sitting on the board?
So I've reached out to all of the Hopland properties several times, and that's vacation rentals as well as traditional lodging.
Okay.
The traditional lodging is owned, all of it is owned by one organization, and they don't have the time to send either one of the principals or management to help us out at this time.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I'm wondering if whoever may have been on the lists that we wanted to talk to before might reconsider, given that meetings are on Zoom now versus coming in person. Just something to consider.
Yeah, I suppose either Jim Roberts or Brian from the Brambles might be approached again, possibly.
I've approached them every year since I started.
All right, if they're going to be approached again, I'll reach out to them then.
Well, that's great. And then also just thinking, Ukiah, there's a lot of folks there that have been involved in the past in different things, from some of the, branded corporate properties, and there's others as well, who have participated in things in the past. But now, again, because we're doing Zoom meetings, it might be easier for some folks. That's all,
Good point, John.
I think a Ukiah representative would be fantastic.
Yeah, and there's enough lodging over there. We shouldn't have too much trouble finding anybody. And just for clarification too, I forget, in accordance to our bylaws, does it need to be an owner, or can there be a designated representative?
Designated representative
Is possible. Okay. All right, any other matters from the advisory board? Hearing none.
I found. Oh, sorry, I'm coming in late. My mute button was stuck. And this could be something we can take offline. Question for Travis. I found the link on the county website that currently has the member roster for this board. And I see there's no chat feature, so I can't share it. But I'm just pointing out my membership expires or has already expired, even as listed on the website. But I know that I've reapplied with you, Travis. Is that something I should worry about, or this board should worry about taking care of immediately, or do you want to just work with me on that, or do you need more information from me?
Adrian, can you and I work together to make sure that the county website reflects the active forms?
Yeah, I can talk to clerk of the board too, because it all has to go through that side. We don't maintain any of that, and we don't keep the records, unfortunately. But we'll need to verify that Lindsay's received those, and then she can do an appointment like John Dixon's if she needs to.
Right.
So I do have a little concern. Yeah, the math wasn't working out in my head right. And basically, if it's a 2-year term and an existing member wants to reapply, they're basically reapplying every other October, right? And I don't recall. I mean, the last October, it was John Dixon, I think, was the only one that needed to reapply. So that would have meant that John Glidewell and I needed to reapply this last October.
So Marcus, you actually applied and were appointed in January of 2020.
So I would go to January.
You don't have to until this next year, not this year, but the following.
Okay. January 2022 is when my term would expire.
Correct.
Okay. And then John Glidewell?
John,
Same.
yours should be updated because I remember we went through that, and so Adrian, that's one that we need to update.
We'll check on his.
John Dixon is fine, and then Cindy is just
Brand
fine.
new, yeah.
Yes. Now I'm recalling. I did, both John Dixon and I had to reapply this the
Right.
November of 2019.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So then I do have a little concern that if John Glidewell's term would be ending next month, January, then, if he hasn't reapplied and been reappointed.
The only conflict that occurs with boards and commissions is if someone is vying for his seat. So if someone's not coming in with a claim to take it, then the Board of Supervisors allows any incumbent to remain in their seat and fill out the application for reappointment.
And did they just stay in the seat? They stay in the seat for a whole nother term? Or
No, we need to reapply and get him in there, but unless someone physically comes in and says, I want to take his seat, the Board of Supervisors does not require him to be off of the board. It wouldn't change our quorum. The incumbent sits while they fill out their application.
Okay.
And as I recall, we did this with John Glidewell, and it's been submitted. So he should, I think the website is incorrect.
It's possible. I know they're very backlogged.
Okay. Let's look into it and get it figured out. Because we want to make sure we operate in accordance to our bylaws. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Any other matters? Hearing none, we'll move to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Wonderful.
I will. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Marcus seconded. Yeah, did we vote on that?
You can just do all those in favor.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, great. So we'll see you all the next scheduled meeting.
Travis and I will talk about the agenda.
That sounds great.
Okay, thanks all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.